Welcome to Sound Mind International. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Sound Mind International and welcome to our month of September, which is our month of remembrance and fruitfulness. Now, the Lord gave me a theme for these remaining ember months, and the theme was to place a guard over my heart, O Lord. And this week's topic is entitled Suicide and Perception, taken from my anchor scripture of 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 4. And it reads, "He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. 'I have had enough, Lord,' he said. 'Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died.'" Depressed? Yes. Suicidal? Perhaps. But let's dissect what is happening around Elijah's circumstances or situation. He was running away from Jezebel. Now, this was a mighty prophet of God who had just commanded the fire of the Lord to consume the 50 prophets of Baal. Now, there were other characters who were depressed in the Bible or committed suicide, such as Judas Iscariot and Ahithophel. Judas Iscariot was just ridden with guilt, and Ahithophel's ego and honor as a prophet was bruised. By returning back to Elijah, he had various accolades and achievements. He prayed for rain to come, and it came. He prayed for fire to come, and it came. He even ran past Ahab's chariots and managed to overtake him. We can all relate to this character of Elijah when we are in our prime, or as I like to say, our years of abundance. Everything was going well in that marriage, in that relationship, in that business, or in your life until you encountered an obstacle or a mountain. And the enemy, sometimes you got to remember, he's not stupid. He's very strategic because he will use those obstacles to cloud your perception, to cloud your thinking, which is your reasoning faculty. It's what you used to think, is what you used to reason. Now, in the last days, he is going to use this weapon majorly because he knows Jesus Christ is coming back soon and his time is very short. Such obstacles or threats, such as Elijah faced, are carefully strategized to make you think, that there is no way out of that problem. There is no way out of that obstacle, of that mountain that is confronting you other than suicide. And the number one strategy was isolation. He sat down in a place. He sat down under a solitary broom tree. Now, solitary, it is a place of loneliness. Solitary, it is a place of being alone. And woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him or has no one to pick him up. Now, Elijah was alone with his thoughts in the wilderness. And if we are familiar with the story of Jesus Christ in the wilderness is a place where the devil will come to tempt you mentally. If he cannot get you with your feelings, with your emotions first, he will get your mind secondly. And for those of you watching this, it might not be today or tomorrow, but perhaps in the next 10 or 20 years to come, a situation might arise, but God forbid, where like Elijah, you might feel and start to think or reason, or have this suicidal ideology as the way out, because it isn't. Suicide is not the way out, but because, they are irrational thoughts where, you get a brain fog and you can't even think, you can't even reason clearly, you can't even see past that mountain, because what did God say to Abraham? As far as you can see, that is what I will give unto you. And oftentimes seeing is within the mind. You can see visions, but seeing oftentimes it is in your perception, your mental faculty, and also our perception of things affects suicide. What do I mean? When Elijah, what was Elijah's mental perception? A prophet like me, how can I be running away from Jezebel? I am the only prophet of God left, and now they're trying to kill me. There is no other way out other than death. Now, I'm not Elijah. I don't know what his ideology or what his perception, but for him to pray for him to die, seeing and reasoning suicide as the only way out. Suicide ideation, it stems from core beliefs, which are what we really think or believe about ourselves. We start thinking, thoughts of I'm a failure, I will never be good enough. And this leads to emotions such as shame and hopelessness. And we know hopelessness, it is part of what comprises the individuals that are very either suicidal or depressed. When you think or feel there is no way out, your emotions then affect your behavior and you start isolating yourself like Elijah. You start cutting, you start looking for alternative ways to commit suicide because that core belief of I am a failure could mean, I don't know what it could mean to you, or could be translated into I can no longer do this to my family. They will be better off without me. And if you start having these irrational thoughts, because he sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died. Now, things are and will continue to get hard, as most of you already know, and you might be coming through or almost at the end of your tank, almost at the end of your last straw, of your patience, of your finance, and of your sanity, and say you have had enough. And you don't ever want to get to that point where you've had enough, because then you start thinking irrational thoughts. You start thinking of the worst possible outcome. And if you're not careful, this might end up or cause you to attempt to commit suicide. And if you attempt to commit suicide, you might die as a result. But I am here today to encourage you like the Lord encouraged Elijah. Suddenly a voice came to him and said, what are you doing here, Elijah? And you watching this, not only was Elijah out of a place geographically, he was also out of a place mentally. What are you doing in that mental place, you watching this? What have you found yourself in? What are you doing in that depression? What are you doing at the edge of that cliff about to jump off? What are you doing about to take that overdose? And if you're about to do these things, I want to encourage you that God cares for you. That you, like Elijah, may think or perceive that you are alone, but you are not alone, because God is watching you. God sees, he is omnipotent, omnipresent. And no matter what you do matter. You are important. Your life is valuable. But do not commit suicide by applying a permanent solution to a temporal problem. Now, some of the services that I believe can be accessed, internationally are International Association for Suicide Prevention, which is IASP, International Mental Health Helpline, which is helpguide.org. I will be posting, the website and the link, in the description box, in the link description box. So you can find the links in the description box. And Samaritans, .org. Every life lost to suicide is a tragedy, but they are there to listen. And I'm sure these three services, as we're working on in Sound Mind International, can be accessed from whatever it is around the world that you are. I want to thank you very much for watching. I want to thank you very much for listening. And I hope that this sermon has helped you to kind of reason and beyond, that depressive or suicidal season that some of you might be going through. And I hope you'll be able to find the light at the end of the tunnel. And until next time, keep thinking.